Now that we have our project working, we need to do some more setup, a little bit. So the first thing is that we need to go to the tsconfig.json, and we need to add this line, which is the strict null checks, and we need to set that to false, because if we don't do so, we're going to have a bunch of errors when we set for instance here, if I define the ship, which is a sprite, and it will throw an error saying that the I need to import this from the Babylon core, but it will say that I need to set that into the constructor, right? That it's possible, it's a possible null. So to avoid that is I need to set that to false. I know I'm gonna set this, but I'm not gonna set that directly into the constructor, but here in this init function. So for now, I'm gonna delete the cube stuff and the material as well. I'll go to the here, right? Because we don't need the cube anymore. That's fine. And I want you to know that the scene, it's now part of the level. Is not here outside in the engine like we had before in the previous game, but it's in its own level. So every level has its own scene, which means it has its own components inside. So the scene also has the update and the render, which is the level. So we go to the level. I'm implementing those three interfaces, one for update, one for render, and another for init. So I have the init method, and I have the render method, which is this one, the one we are using there, and we have also the update method. So we can pass a delta and some argument, but for now we don't need them, so we are not passing anything. So continuing with our game. Now that I created the ship, I'm gonna create a new function called set ship, and here I'm gonna set up all the ship stuff. For instance, so the ship is on a sprite, and I'm going to use another component that it's a ship manager, or a sprite manager in this case. I'm going to call it ship manager, and it's a sprite manager, right? And it will accept a bunch of parameters. But now I'm going to import this. Well, whatever. So I need to add a name, and I need to add the path of the asset. In this case, I have the asset folders, and I'm gonna pass this ship. So it will be /assets ship.png, and I'm gonna define the number of sprites that I'm gonna create with it manager, and this just one. And I will create the size and it will be 21 because that's the size of the width of every frame, and with a height of 12, right? I'm gonna have 3 frames, 0, 1, and 2, and every frame is 21 by 12. So this is the cell or the frame measures. And finally, I'm gonna pass this scene here. Okay, so the sprite manager, this is giving me an error. I'm gonna show. So this sprite manager, it was imported from the Babylon.js, which is wrong. If you have something like that, just remove that line and just add the sprite manager as part of the Babylon core. Okay, that's the correct. Now I don't have an error, but I think I'm ready. Now I can use the set ship inside the init function. This init, and remember, in your webpack config, you need to set the copy webpack plugin to the src assets. In the past we have something like this. You should have something like that. Just need to uncomment that, remove this line here, and just change the name from the textures to assets. Texture was for the previous game, so now we have an assets folder. We have different images. With this it should work. So I think we are ready to see if we can see our ship in the screen. So I'm going to start again. Okay, if I go to the localhost. Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot. I need to create the instance of this sprite. It's not just with the ship manager. Doesn't help. So we need to create the ship. It's this ship. It's equal new sprite, and I have to pass a name. In this case will be the ship, and I'm going to pass the ship manager instance, right? So if I just compile again and save and everything, now we can see, right, in the camera we can see the first frame of our sprite in the scene. But we need to do some arrangement here because the sprite's too big, so I need to do some more setup. So the first thing I need is that this will be a 2D game, so hence I need an orthographic camera. And to make that, I'm gonna change the code from the constructor. I'm gonna pass this to the init method at the beginning, and I'm gonna set the camera here. So but now my free camera won't be just the normal camera, so I'm gonna change that for an ortho camera, and I'm going to change the dimensions here. That's going to be I'm going to be far from the like 10 units and 9 units here. So the orthographic camera is the 2D camera we can see on all the classic 2D games. So for this camera I just need to change the mode also, and it will be camera orthographic camera. Okay, with this we're going to specify to Babylon to use an orthographic camera configuration for our instance, and then I need to set like the measures from the center point to the top, left, right, and bottom. So parting from our center point, I'm gonna just set the top, and it will be like from the center to the top. I want that to have 5 units. It's not top, it's ortho top. Okay, and so for the ortho bottom I want that to have also 5 units, but in the negative position, right? From the center point -5, it will be for instance in total, the total height of our camera will be 10 units from 5 to -5, parting from our center point. In the same way for the x-axis. So I'm gonna just copy this, and then I'm gonna put ortho left, and I want that to be not 5 but 8 units. Let's say, remember that if I want to go to the left, the units must be negative. So in the same way to the right, ortho right, and I need 8 units. Okay, Let me explain this a little bit. Let's imagine this is our camera. And remember that we start from the center point of the screen. So this will be the ortho top, which will be 5 units. The ortho top. And from the center point to the bottom will be -5 units. The total height of our screen will be 10 units. Right? So in the same way, if we go to the left, that will be -8. This will be ortho left. And to the right will be also 8 units. Right? And this will be ortho right. So the width of our camera is 16 units. So that's what we are doing here in the ortho camera configuration. With that in mind, everything is set up, but I need to change also the frames of the chip. So now that we have our chip working and we have the instance, I can just specify the initial frame. In this case, we can specify that with the cell index. This chip, the cell index, and if you remember, we have 3 frames, 0, 1, and 2. So I want just to set this frame will be the number 1, and the sprite is too big, so I'm going to change that a little bit because I don't want the sprite. By default, all the sprite will be with size 1. Right? Remember that when we are using 3D objects, we don't have pixels but units. So in this case, we need to change a little bit the measures of our sprite object here. In this case, I'm going to change the width to 0.6, and I'm going to change the height also to 0.4. Right, now that I change everything, if I go again to the to our game, now we can see that we have a much better sprite in the screen. So because we set the orthographic camera and we change the dimensions of the sprite. If I don't change the dimensions of the sprite, I'm going to comment that a little bit, and you can see that this is a little bit wider, right? So I don't like that. It doesn't look good to me. When I just scale that a little bit, it was better to me. I think this is much better. And if I change the width of the browser, I can also check that the width of the game is also changing, right? But we are supposed to play in full screen. So that's it for now. We're gonna start doing more stuff in the next. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you have any suggestion or comment, just put it below. Thank you.